before kicking. Well, our second match is a straightforward European qualifying contest between two teams, Nottingham Forest and Tottenham, who, for one reason or another, have not lived up to their own standards. But a last-minute surge into Europe could put it all right for either of them. Your commentator is John Watson.
Captain Ian Bowyer has a particular reason for hoping Forest qualify for next season's UEFA Cup. He has winners' medals in the two other European competitions, the Champions' Cup twice with Forest and the Cup Winners' Cup with Manchester City when he was 18. Bowyer is now 31 and the team he leads today shows just one change from the 11 which finished on the winning side at Coventry last Tuesday. At number 4, Bryn Gunn returns for the injured Chris Fairclough. Indeed, centre-back has been a jinx position for Forest this season with the retirement of Einar Ors and the current injury to Colin Todd. Spurs, on the other hand, have got their partnership of Graham Roberts and Paul Miller together again. It's the side which beat Arsenal 5-0, with Hoddle, Ardiles, Crooks and Price all in the reserves today, and even Steve Perryman, returning after suspension, can only make the substitutes position. And it's our first chance to see Alan Brazil in a Spurs shirt. He won a UEFA Cup winners' medal with Ipswich 2 years ago. Brian Clough on his way to his seat. He's never actually managed a team that's played in the UEFA Cup. Spurs in white start this match 2 points behind Nottingham Forest. So victory this afternoon on what's been a fairly good ground for Spurs down the years would put them in front of the side they face today. Forest beginning the match in 5th place, wearing the red shirts. Viv Anderson. That was Houghton going in with Mabbott. John Robertson. The signs are that Walsh will play on the left for Forest, the side he favours. That's him on the ball now. And John Robertson beginning the match more on the right. Back again to Walsh. Ken Swain is making the extra man down the left. Hodge is underneath it, and the header out was by Tony Galvin, giving Forest an early corner. Willie Young has gone forward. And Clement's not making it. Falco helping the ball out. Bowyer. Walsh. Header out was by Miller. And Hodge taking up the wide position on the right. Wallace and Davenport waiting in the centre. And offside. The referee this afternoon is Ray Guy from Merseyside. There's Houghton. Robertson in there with Mabbott. Here's Hodge. Walsh is free on the left, and the through ball to Davenport finds him offside. And Mabbott's underneath it, and so is Brazil now. That was Young. A missed kick by Walsh. Oh dear me, it wasn't a very good ball from Archibald. Gave Miller no chance at all. And Forest now have got 5 players forward. Davenport. Archibald at least got the foot in to stop him. Nicely done by Anderson. Wallace. Davenport. Robertson. And they're trying to stay onside. That's a fine ball out to Walsh by Robertson. And here's Davenport. It was Miller who got a foot in, and then Mabbott. And little Gibson trying to find Falco. Flattened by Willie Young. So a free kick to Spurs. Roberts. Swain's header. Here's Gibson. It's a match which up to now has developed no real pattern on either side. Gunn. And Walsh. Offside. And the crowd getting rather agitated by Tottenham's tactics. That linesman on the far side, Graham Roderick, with the yellow flag, has been kept fairly busy. He's right each time. There is an offside, but the slow hand clap going around the ground. There's one at the other end now, but the slow hand clap going around the City ground is the Forest fans' verdict on the way Spurs are playing in defence. Wallace. Walsh. O'Reilly. Gibson. And it's a fair ball, but just a yard ahead of Brazil. Gibson at least trying to get Spurs into a penetrating position, and Brazil was just short of latching onto that. Wallace. Oh, and Anderson making a good run. Davenport is the player in the centre for Forest. That's his touch! Brilliant goal! Viv Anderson made it quite superbly. He began the move back in his own territory and continued his run. Collected the ball in stride, sensed that Davenport was coming near post, and the touch by Davenport beating Clements and putting Nottingham Forest in front. And Davenport, who scored against Spurs in the corresponding fixture last season, gets the first goal today after 35 minutes. And prior to that, neither goalkeeper had been really troubled. It had been a scrappy and uneventful half, and then Davenport, with a superb touch, getting an elbow in the back for his pains, puts his side ahead. It's Walsh. Hodge is trying to make it on this side. Anderson will support the attack once more. Wallace. Anderson again. But it's nice to see that Anderson back in such confident mood. He was out for 3 months of the season after sustaining a nasty knee injury while training with the England party back in October. But he's made the first goal here, and his surges forward have been about the brightest thing in the first half. Walsh. Davenport. Walsh again. Swain now linking up. This is Galvin. Oh, good tackle by Hodge. 5 minutes left in the first half. Wallace for Forest. Again, they're trying to stay onside. Hodge. Robertson. Anderson is just behind him. Robertson's checking on that. Davenport. Hodge taking over nicely. And this is Bowyer. Oh, I say that's a beautiful shot. Ian Bowyer, the Forest captain, makes it 2-0. Good build-up again by Nottingham Forest. Robertson and Anderson really started it, but the ball was moved concisely. Hodge got involved, looked for the best option. Bowyer's shot, 2-0 after 41 minutes. 2-0 the score by which Forest won that game here last season against Spurs. Spurs 2 down again. Gibson now for them. Off Swain for a corner. So Viv Anderson involved in both goals. Forest scored 2 in the space of 6 minutes. O'Reilly. Here's Davenport. Shows a nice appreciation of the game when the ball's on the ground, the Forest number 9. Here's Walsh. Well, in that first half, it was Forest who made something out of nothing. It was a grim game until Brian Clough's team scored twice in the space of 6 minutes. The first goal coming from Peter Davenport, and the second well struck by Ian Bowyer. And the least said about Spurs' first half performance, the better. Forest are going for their 3rd win in a row here. The ball given away promptly by Robertson. Here's Brazil. And this comes after a run of 9 matches in the league without winning for Forest. Here's Houghton. Anderson. Well, he's continuing where he left off in the first half. Getting forward to good effect and finding Davenport, who's turned away quite nicely. Wallace following up, and so too is Hodge here. Davenport couldn't get a foot in ahead of Mabbott, but here's Bowyer. Could so easily have been 3 there for Forest, and again Anderson would have been the provider. Instead, here's Galvin to Gibson. Brazil is up. Here's Falco. And the goalkeeper not doing terribly well. Van Breukelen perhaps would have hoped to hold that, but he needed the help of Bryn Gunn. And this time, no mistake at all from the Dutch keeper, who, to give him credit, has settled down very well in English football this season. Survived a serious knee injury and come back to play with some presence. Hans van Breukelen. Header was by Walsh to Wallace, and he got charged in the back by Graham Roberts. Robertson bringing Anderson into the game again. Hodge is out right. Took the ball over the line, did he? Well, the referee seems to think Houghton got the last touch. It's a corner. Hodge, Anderson, and again Young stays forward. Wallace, help from Davenport. Swain, oh that's a good ball. A really fine pass to Walsh. 3 waiting in the centre. Swain again. And now he feeds the other flank. This is Robertson. Anderson. Checked a little bit, was he? By Archibald. Well, it's Galvin who's trying to find a way out of that corner. Forward by O'Reilly, and Brazil is in here and scores off the post. His second goal for Spurs. Long ball pumped forward by Gary O'Reilly. It caught Willie Young, rather. Brazil got goal side of him, and on his weaker foot, the right, he steered the ball wide of Van Breukelen, in off the far post. And Spurs are back in the match after 56 minutes. Their first clean scoring opportunity. And Davenport beaten by Houghton. Robertson, not quite what he intended, but the ball moved on. Davenport caught one on the leg there from Graham Roberts, and the Spurs captain has his name taken. Definitely clipped Peter Davenport after the ball had gone. Spurs actually haven't got the proudest disciplinary record this season. Two players on the pitch today, Galvin and Falco, will shortly serve periods of suspension, and Roberts, one of those players who from time to time has been in trouble himself. Here's Anderson. Well, the little challenge there was Houghton and Hodge, and the game suddenly turning rather sour. Steve Hodge goes into the referee's book within a minute of Graham Roberts having his name taken. So the England under-21 international is cautioned, and he was sent off earlier this season as well. Archibald. Oh, O'Reilly taking Walsh very high, and the referee is going to book Gary O'Reilly. The Spurs players appealing that that was an intentional bid for the ball when he first set out, and that maybe Walsh made rather a lot of the fall. Certainly winded. So we've had 3 players booked here in 3 minutes. 2 for Spurs and 1 for Forest. Gibson, and Brazil is through again against Gunn. Well, this match has changed completely. He thought that was a corner. The referee gave a go kick initially, but then checked with his linesman and was big enough to change his mind. It's a corner to Spurs. And O'Reilly gets up. Mabbott! 2-2. And Gary Mabbott, once again, a thorn in the side of Nottingham Forest. He scored twice against them at White Hart Lane back in September, and he struck that one with venom and accuracy. Forest failed to clear the corner properly. Mabbott drove it hard and true, and Spurs are level after 64 minutes. So having conceded 2 in 6 minutes in the first half, Spurs scored 2 in 8 minutes in the second. And there's a danger now that the match is going to get out of hand, because the referee, in that little spell prior to the second Tottenham goal, booked 3 players, and the tackles are flying rather, and the reaction sometimes exaggerated. anybody's match now. Oh, that's O'Reilly again. And he's already had his name taken. And he caught Colin Walsh. Now this is where the referee is in something of a dilemma. However serious the offence may or may not have been, it was his second. Not a malicious player, Gary O'Reilly. And the referee's discretion, despite the boos of the Forest supporters, possibly seemed to be the right thing. O'Reilly. Brazil. It was Young with the tackle on Brazil. And words were exchanged there between the two players. And Tottenham, I don't think, will want O'Reilly to stay on because he has been in trouble with the referee. That may be a wise substitution by Keith Burtonshaw and Peter Shreves, just to keep him out of trouble. And Steve Perryman, the more regular right-back, is coming on for Spurs. With 9 minutes to go. Having had Perryman himself and Galvin sent off in their last two away games, Spurs don't want O'Reilly to suffer the same fate, and they've pulled him out of the action. Brazil. Foul against him. Perryman gets involved in the action. Galvin. Miller. And if Brazil can kill this, he has. Took it down brilliantly, Alan Brazil. It's funny that he's one of the best finishers in the business normally, and seemed to have done the hardest part. The way he killed that ball from Paul Miller was excellent. Took it in his stride and threw off the defender, but for once, the shot was high and wide. There's Falco. Corner given, and Spurs to the last here, looking the more likely scorers, the more likely takers of the extra 2 points at stake. How the game has turned. But in the end, the points are shared. Spurs 2 down at half-time, making a good recovery. Brian Clough's team losing that 2-goal lead. Alan Brazil putting Tottenham back in the game. And Gary Mabbott, who had not scored in the last 15 Spurs matches in which he's played, striking the equaliser. And so the two teams pushing for a European place finished today level with a final score of Nottingham Forest 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2.